I'm super excited to chat to you this evening about postnatal nutrition. And we'll take questions throughout, so if you've got any questions, please feel free just to pop them in the comments box and I will do my best to answer them as we go along. Hello, is that Mum of Sonny? Thanks for joining. Loads of people joining us, which is fantastic. Great to see. I'll introduce myself just while we're getting started. So my name is Pip. I am a midwife. I'm a practicing midwife, currently based on a delivery suite. And I am really enthusiastic about the benefits of exercise and nutrition in pregnancy and the postnatal period, because it's super powerful for all our well-being, really. And part of the reason that I'm teaming up with Mummy MOT tonight is that they kind of share this wellness ethos. So it's fantastic to be able to collaborate with them this evening. And I'm really excited. It's fantastic. So people obviously keep joining. And as I said, just answer any questions. I'll answer any questions that pop up in the comments as we go along. I have got an assistant with me this evening to help point me out and remind me that there are questions there. He's actually quite handy because he's also a sports and exercise scientist and has got a special interest in pregnancy and postnatal exercise as well. So he's quite useful to have. So if there's any questions that I think he might be able to answer, then I will absolutely pull him in. So come and say hello. There's a stranger in the corner.
Hello, good evening everyone. Hope you have a nice sunny day.
So yeah, anything that I think is more relevant, I will be asking him to join in on. And hopefully he'll be starting to make a bit more of an appearance on my own Instagram, midwife_pip, in the upcoming weeks with some more kind of exercise tips and things, which is really exciting. So stay tuned for that. So let's start. So postnatal nutrition is so important, but quite often the kind of Cinderella of the pregnancy journey. And throughout your pregnancy, your body is kind of completely devoted to growing, nurturing, and then birthing your baby. So looking after yourself in the postnatal period should absolutely not be considered as kind of a self-indulgent practice, but an absolute necessity. The time after birth should really be kind of observed as a sacred bonding time for kind of deep self-care, rest and recovery, given the amount of time you've spent, the last 9 months or so growing another human being. And eating nutrient-dense foods to support your body is one of the most powerful tools in kind of nourishing yourself back to health in this postpartum period. And in that early postnatal period, often called the 4th trimester, there are many challenges that women face. So kind of your lack of sleep, the recovery from birth, potential pain. So if women have sustained some sort of birth trauma, be it on the perineum or a caesarean section wound, there's usually a degree of discomfort. Fluctuating hormone levels and anxiety, and sometimes also some depressive symptoms that could be relatively normal or something that is more concerning and leading to postnatal depression. And we know that good nutrition in this period is really important to not only help you to recover from birth effectively, but also to kind of aid some restoration of your kind of normal hormone balances. And to also replenish some diminished nutrient stores. And maintenance of your blood sugar levels and balance has been shown to support postnatal mood in the immediate postnatal period. And this is something that actually we can really easily do. So anxiety and depression are known to be exacerbated when blood sugar levels become unstable. And the best way to try and stabilise your blood sugars is to include sort of sources of complex carbohydrates in each meal over kind of the white processed types. So white carbohydrates like white bread, rice and pasta cause our blood sugars to kind of spike and then trough throughout the day. And it's when we have these spikes and then troughs that our mood can be affected. So wholemeal or brown alternatives and things like porridge oats have a much slower release of energy. And it's important as well to not be skipping breakfast, which happens so often, especially when you're really busy with a newborn baby. And it's too commonly done, but it's a really key meal to set your body up for the day and stop this kind of roller coaster of blood sugar spikes. And then moving on slightly, so hydration is so important, especially if you are breastfeeding. And a good tip is to place kind of bottles of water in all the places where you might be likely to find yourself feeding your baby. So that way it's really easy accessible. And when you kind of are sat there, it reminds you, right, we're breastfeeding, let's drink, to keep those hydration levels nicely topped up throughout the day. And another really important component of our nutrition in that postnatal period are omega-3 fats. Now, there's loads and loads of research coming out on the benefits of omega-3 fatty acids for all sorts of kind of nutrition. And although the topic at the moment isn't kind of wholly conclusive, there are lots of studies that suggest a correlation between the healthy levels of omega-3 fatty acids, and there are two specific ones, which are EPA and DHA, and this has been linked to reductions in symptoms of postnatal depression. Now, the best source of these is generally found in oily fish, so mackerel, salmon, fresh tuna, sardines, but also in some nuts and olive oils these can be found as well. And then looking at iron. So iron is quite a well-known micronutrient. And in the third trimester of pregnancy, babies build up all of the iron that they need from the stores of their mother. So even if you've accumulated really great iron stores throughout your pregnancy, during birth, you will always lose some degree of blood. It's kind of inevitable to have some degree of blood loss during childbirth. And so some of that blood and some of that iron level will naturally drop, okay? And after birth, you kind of need to boost those iron levels if you can. And the best way to do that is through our diets. So including some really iron-rich foods in your diet in the postnatal period is super important. Now, deficiency in iron may lead to anemia. And if you have this condition, it makes you feel quite tired, lethargic, quite cold, sometimes short of breath, and generally quite weak, which are all symptoms that you don't want to have to be battling with a newborn in that immediate period, because you've got enough tiredness going on and recovery without also having anemia. So good sources of iron come from red meat, vegetables. Beans and nuts also contain iron, and to help your body to absorb it, it's important to eat it with vitamin C rich foods, so things like orange juice, tomatoes, and that helps your body to absorb that iron as well. A slightly less commonly heard of micronutrient is zinc. Now, getting enough zinc in your diet is vital to support a healthy immune system and promote healing, which is so important following childbirth. Deficiencies in zinc can severely impact the functioning of your immune system, and this leads to increased risk of infection. And as we've discussed, after giving birth, it's common that women have a wound of some description, be it a cesarean section, a perineal tear, and even if you haven't had either of those injuries, then when your placenta detaches from your womb, that naturally leaves a wound site. So there's always something that's really trying to heal. So we want to really make sure that we're reducing our risk of infection and boosting our immune system. So zinc is fantastic, and it's really easy to get in our diets. Some of the common sources are things like beans, meat, nuts, fish, whole grain cereals, and dairy products. An example of how easy it is to get zinc in our diet is baked beans. So half a cup of baked beans has about 6.9 milligrams of zinc, which is a really great start. And then a really important macronutrient. So macronutrients are, I think, what we're probably most commonly aware of and what we see on the kind of recommended Eat Well plate. So these are our fats, our carbohydrates, and our protein sources. And protein is a super important macronutrient in the postnatal period. It's composed of amino acids. Oh, I've got a little question. Can you repeat the foods with zinc in? Of course. So dairy products, whole grain cereals, fish, nuts, meat, and beans. And it's baked beans that I said had 6.9 milligrams of zinc in. So a really great convenient source. So we can kind of get it in most definitely. And then just flipping back to the protein we were discussing. So protein is composed of amino acids. And these are basically the building blocks for life. So they're found in every single cell of our body. And it's essential for transporting molecules throughout the body, helping to repair cells and to make new ones. And it also has a role in protecting us from viruses and from bacteria. So again, we can see how in this postnatal period, when we're focusing on wound healing and repairing cells and boosting our immune system, we can see how important it is to have enough protein in our diets. So I'd recommend every meal that you have, try and ensure that you're including a protein source in that. Now, quite often when we think of protein, we think of meat, and meat absolutely is a great source of protein, but it doesn't have to be your only source. So other things are obviously fish, yogurt and dairy products are fantastic sources of protein, eggs, nuts, cheese, legumes, beans, and tofu and quinoa as well are really great sources. So there's a great variety that actually you can include. So if you're having a bowl of porridge in the morning, one of our simple staples, having that made with some milk is a great way of easily getting some protein into that meal. And one medium egg, for example, has got 6 grams of protein in. So it's easy to get in. We just need to plan a little bit and make sure we're really helping ourselves in that period, especially with that tissue repair. And then another nutrient that's important is fibre. So a fibre-rich diet accompanied with good hydration can really help women to manage constipation. And constipation is such a key concern of women following birth. Everyone is slightly scared of that first time they go to the toilet, especially if you have had some stitches to your perineal area. And sources of fibre include fruits and vegetables. And I'd recommend trying to keep the skins on all of your fruits and vegetables if possible, because that's actually where most of the fibre is located, in the fruits or vegetables. So giving them a good wash, especially if you're doing potatoes, loads of fibre is actually in white or sweet potato varieties. So definitely try and keep that skin on them. And then whole grain carbohydrate sources, so brown pastas, rice, brown bread, oats, nuts and seeds, also really great sources of fibre. But it is really important to make sure you have really good hydration alongside that for it to effectively help with constipation symptoms. Now, ladies that have been prescribed iron tablets in the postnatal period are at increased risk of having constipation, and also some analgesias such as dihydrocodeine or morphine-based analgesias can also cause constipation. So just be extra aware if you're taking those kind of tablets that fibre is going to be even more important in your diet. And then breastfeeding. So breastfeeding actually burns around 300 extra calories a day, and that's more calories than you needed when you were pregnant. Even in your 3rd trimester of pregnancy, only sort of 200 to 300 recommended. So breastfeeding really is burning up lots and lots of energy. And these extra 300 calories that your body needs are a brilliant opportunity to maximise your nutritional intake. So making sure these extra 300 calories come from great sources of protein with fibre and vitamins and minerals is a great way to be addressing it. And then it's really important just to make sure that we're not thinking about obsessing about quantities of different macronutrients in each meal. We haven't got time to be planning that when we've just had a baby. It's all about basing your meals around a great variety of whole grain carbohydrates, fresh fruits and vegetables, legumes, beans, nuts, different meat, fish and dairy. And if you're going to be doing that, you're easily going to be ticking these nutrient boxes without any kind of big in-depth planning. But I'm absolutely also not saying that cake is banned, okay? We've got to have some little treats. So life is too short for that kind of restriction or negativity around food. But it's important that we make sure that processed or sugary, salt-laden foods aren't forming the kind of basis of our diet. They should very much be a nice little treat as opposed to kind of your lunch or your dinner. Now, I appreciate that in that postnatal period, time is sometimes a massive kind of barrier, I guess, to ensuring that we concentrate on our nutrition. We're so focused on all our appointments to attend, caring for our baby, adapting to this new kind of lifestyle and all the changes that are happening in our lives, with our bodies, with our family. So some little tips I would like to give just to try and balance that kind of lack of time but also desire to eat well. One is investing in a slow cooker. So you can actually cook so much more in a slow cooker than quite often we realise. It's not just stews. They're fantastic to be able to throw loads of nutritious ingredients into in the morning, and then by the evening you've got a great warming, nourishing meal. They're also really great for cooking things like jacket potatoes in, and you can even put a whole chicken in with some onions and carrots and potatoes for kind of like a minimal effort roast dinner. The other thing is to cook in batches and then freeze it. So that way you are only cooking once, but you're producing maybe 2 or 3 meals for the kind of week ahead. So another great tip. And then some speedy kind of cooking hacks. So things like having some microwave rice pouches, and they even do some that are mixed now with quinoa and other nice ingredients in there. Tinned lentils and legumes, which are great sources of protein and fibre, and also cook in a matter of minutes. So the tinned ones are actually already cooked. So all you're really doing is heating them through with some other ingredients. So you can make really speedy versions of kind of family classics like bologneses or curries, but in a really quick way by substituting the meat that would have taken maybe 20 minutes for these beans and pulses that would take maybe 5 minutes maximum, really. And jacket potatoes, so frozen jacket potatoes are a great go-to, and likewise with frozen fruits and vegetables. So sometimes it's just thinking about things that would have taken you a bit longer. How can we do that a bit quicker, but also continue to kind of optimise our nutrition? Now, a little fact for you that kind of, I think, makes us realise how important it is that we are starting our postnatal journey in a nourished way, and how that will have such a big impact on our family life as well, because it's about us, but also if we're eating nourishing foods, then hopefully that means that partners and children will also follow suit. So the nutrition of an infant in the first 6 to 18 months of life is believed to be one of the biggest predictors of adult obesity. So creating these healthy habits around food is not only really beneficial to a healing mother, but also is setting the scene for kind of a healthy future for your child too. So it's just a complete win all round. So hopefully that kind of inspires you. If looking after yourself and helping yourself to heal, hopefully is motivation enough, but it does spread wider than that as well. Now, one of my top tips before we move on to hopefully helping to answer some of your questions is to always eat a nutritious and filling breakfast. So I saw a quote a few weeks back that said, eat diamonds for breakfast and you will shine all day. And I absolutely love that, because I think that if you start your breakfast in a great healthy way, it kind of sets the scene for kind of the days to follow and the rest of your day. And try and make sure that your breakfast has those sources of protein, carbohydrates, get some healthy fats in there if you can. Eating breakfast makes us, not only gives us energy and breaks that overnight fast to help maintain our blood sugars throughout the day, but it also stops you getting that kind of craving processed foods and sugars by kind of 10, 11 a.m. So it's really important that we start our day in the right way, really. Now, I will pop a post on my Instagram page after our chat this evening that has that diamonds for breakfast quote on and is titled giveaway. And if you would like to, then just look at that post and it gives you some details of how you can get your hands on a little PDF that I'll send over with 5 of my favourite nutritious, filling but very quick breakfast to start your day well with, and one of them even includes a carrot cake recipe. So any time you can start your day with cake and it's also healthy is great. I think it's definitely a win for midwives for sure. Now, has anyone got any questions or anything specific that they want me to cover about the postnatal period and nutrition, or any kind of exercise questions that I can grab my assistant James for as well? I'll give you guys a few moments to see if there's anything. I did have a question actually sent to me earlier on when Mummy MOT advertised this Instagram chat, and that was regards to joint pain in the postnatal period. Now, good snack tips, I love that. So many snack tips. Snacks are really important, especially in maintaining those blood sugars, and can be a really great way of getting those 300 breastfeeding calories in. I would say, in terms of getting protein into those snack tips, things like having a batch of hard-boiled eggs that you can pop in the fridge is a great way. Hummus and veggie sticks is handy. Yogurts and fruits and granola, things like that. If you're a fan of peanut butters or nut butters, then one of my favourite things to do is fill the middle of like a celery stick, like a little boat, and you can fill that with peanut butter or different cheeses. Goat's cheese is really great in there as well to get you a bit of kind of veggies and vitamin C and some healthy fats in. Avocados, and making smoothies with things like avocados, a protein source, so your milk, and maybe a banana, a little bit of honey or maple syrup to sweeten it up. Smoothies are a great way of just packing in loads of nutrients, and it's really convenient and also gets a little bit of hydration in for you. Leftovers as well. I mean, if you can cook a little bit extra, so you've got kind of leftovers of healthy foods in the fridge to snack on, that's always great. And you will find over on my Instagram page, midwife_pip, I will be posting some kind of little snack ball recipes and bar recipes and things like that that you can batch cook and just have as a convenient, healthy thing to kind of snack on as well. So feel free to check that out. And then I'll just go back to answering the joint pain question. So there is no kind of concrete evidence that nutrition alone will cure joint pain in the postnatal period, and it can be caused by a few different things. So one of the common ones is as a result of the excess weight that we naturally gain in pregnancy, and the hormones that are all rushing around. So things like progesterone and relaxin are relaxing all of those ligaments that can cause that bit of extra joint pain. So generally those things should settle with time and with a good, healthy, balanced diet and some gentle exercise when you feel able to. It's really important that we, if you are experiencing joint pain and it's not going and it's excessive, that you speak to your GP to make sure it's not a condition called arthritis, just to rule that out. But things that you can try in that interim period are foods that are good at fighting inflammation, and also things that are good at boosting the immune system. So eating healthy fats like the omega-3 fatty acids that we spoke about previously are really important. That's your oily fish, olive oil, and also walnut oil. So interestingly, walnut oil actually contains 10 times the omega-3s that olive oil does, but it's not one that we commonly hear of. Avocados also. And research has also shown that cherries have an anti-inflammatory effect. And some of the compounds found in cherries and also other red and purple fruits, so strawberries, raspberries, blueberries and blackberries for examples, have been shown to reduce the frequency of gout attacks. And gout is also linked to inflammation that can cause joint pain, so it's another useful thing to try. If not, cherries are delicious and really great for you anyway. And then dairy products, which are high in vitamin D and also calcium. So these help with bone strength. So we want our bones to be strong, especially if we are getting some discomfort and joint tenderness. There's also some evidence that broccoli, so because it contains a compound called sulforamine, it's believed that that can slow the progression of osteoarthritis, which again is linked to this inflammation. And green tea finally, so that's packed with polyphenols and antioxidants, which are believed to reduce inflammation as well. So any of these kind of things, you can certainly try and see if that is helpful at all in alleviating your kind of symptoms in that period. So hopefully that helps the lady out who messaged me about the joint pain she was experiencing post-birth. Anyone else got any questions? Otherwise, I will not hold you up any longer in getting your dinner this evening. But definitely encourage you to head over to my page. I have this week, I'm actually doing a nutrient series as well. So every day I'm posting some information about some important nutrients, some which we've discussed and lots of others. and kind of just explaining why they're important, a little bit of myth busting, and explaining kind of some sources that you can easily get them into your diet from as well. So be sure to check that out, and then remember to head on over and look for my giveaway post, which will be coming up after we come off this live chat, and that will help you hopefully to get some good breakfast ideas in. Oh, we've got another question coming in. Any tips for stopping postnatal gas? Really difficult, really difficult. What I would say is when you feel comfortable to after birth, pelvic floor exercises are actually really important, because having a strong pelvic floor will ensure that you don't pass wind involuntary, so you'll have control over holding it in. So definitely do your pelvic floors. And unfortunately, sometimes when you are increasing your fibre to prevent things like constipation, you can find that you do get a little bit more gas. So it's kind of constipation or gas. I would say that gas is probably the better symptom to have, but definitely your pelvic floor, so that you have control on it kind of going forward. And if you aren't quite sure about your pelvic floor, I know that that's one of the things that the Mummy MOT specialises in, so you could always seek some advice from them as well. Fab. Well, if anyone has any questions afterwards, please feel free to message me on Instagram. I'm midwife_pip, and I hope to see you soon. Just a little shout before we go off. On Saturday, the Mummy MOT is holding a wellness day. Hopefully you've seen it advertised. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So many different people coming on to speak about all sorts of pregnancy, birth and postnatal advice. And I'm going to be coming on in the afternoon to also discuss some things around more high-risk births and how we can try and make that as comfortable and normal as possible. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope it was useful this evening, and head on over to my page for some more nutrient information coming up this week. Bye bye.